Welcome to the milk bar. 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 Welcome to the milk bar.
Welcome along to episode 662 of the Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, Natan Caton will be letting us know about his gig at the Glee Club in Birmingham in March. We'll be finding out about the schools tour from National Theatre. They're working alongside the Grand as they head across Wolverhampton over the next few days. Coming up this week at the St Giles Church in Wollenhall, the St Giles Drama Group are bringing Annie Jr. to the church stage. We'll be hearing about that and how you can get your tickets for that one. Plus, we'll be hearing from the man behind Forever Elton, Phil Mountford. He'll be letting us know about his gig on stage in April over at the place in Elkingate. And we'll be hearing about an absolutely amazing comedy, Murdered to Death. It's going to be at the Prince of Wales in April, having a natter with Tom Alsop about his part in that show. That's all on the way on the show this week. The St Giles Drama Group are bringing Annie Jr. to the St Giles Church in Wollenhall from the 3rd through to the 5th of March. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Paul Ingalls. Hello, sir.
Hello there.
So, first of all, a bit of background on St Giles Drama Group, please.
Okay, well, we're a church drama group, as you've just said. We're based in Wollenhall, and we have been going for about 30 years now. And we have a range of children aged 8 to 16. And then we have a few teenagers who class themselves as mini adults between 17 and 18. And then we have adults all the way up to 88 if they want to join us.
So how does the shows normally work? Because, I mean, do you do one that's specifically mainly for the adult group at some points in the year and then the junior shows as well? Or how do you normally run these things?
Yeah, we try and involve as many people as we possibly can, both the children and the adults in every show. And in this particular situation, Annie's such a popular show that, we had to go for the Annie Junior version in this situation. And so the adults will be helping out, but it's mainly led by the children throughout the performance. In other times of the year, we do things like a musical montage where we do a variety of songs and comedy. We did one of those back in October. But yeah, this time round, it's Annie Junior.
So the kids bring their talents to the fore this time, and of course, does it take place in the church itself, or is it is there a hall next to it?
Yeah, we now perform in the church. Historically, we used to perform in the church hall, and we grew a little bit and went into the school hall thanks to the kindness of St Giles School. And now we take over the church for a week, and it gives us a lot more space, and we can use all the technology within the church as well, and it creates a really nice atmosphere.
So, I mean, Annie itself is a musical that's well known to many, some amazing songs, and it's normally full of a bunch of kids who are putting the adults to shame. This time it's the youth ensemble all together doing this. So some of them are going to play a little older, haven't they?
Yes, that's right. We've got all sorts of different characters being played by different people. It's been a dream of my daughter's to play this since she was 6. So she played little Molly 6 years ago when we did it. And so, yeah, this time round, she gets to play the lead role. And we've got various teenagers playing servants and all sorts of weird and wonderful characters throughout. Yeah, really good fun.
So as you say, it is a good fun musical, and it's a chance to show off what you can do. And the other part of it, it's just a fantastic community spirit feel as well, isn't it? And St Giles in the heart of Wollenhall has got an excellent catchment area of people who are going to be having a great time being part of this.
Yeah, that's right. We're working very closely with the community. We're working with our sister churches as well to try and create sort of extra things going on around the community, as you say. And we have lots and lots of people, not just from the friends and family of the cast, but we have lots of people who come back to see us. We've done things where we've done Elvis in church and things like that, where we get more people into the church, perhaps come and see from different things. So we've done that in the past as well. But yeah, it's really good to see the community and the wider church and the school coming out to support us all as well. Yeah, really, really nice community feel.
And how has St Giles coped over the last 2 years with the concerns we've had surrounding COVID? Because it's been a little difficult. Things are starting to return back to normal, but you still need to protect those vulnerable people in the community. So I'm going to guess that the church is carrying on with many measures that are already in place.
Yeah, it's been really tough as it has for everybody. Obviously, we had to shut down completely during the first lockdown, as obviously we were then able to put things in place. So we have people sort of sitting 2 meters apart. We use the masks and so on throughout the lockdowns when we were still able to worship. Obviously, as relaxation of the rules has taken place slightly, we're still observing some care. We do have a number of older members of our congregation that we try to protect, and vulnerable adults as well. So yeah, we still keep sort of various hand gelling and sort of social distancing. We still keep that in place wherever it makes sense to do so.
Yeah, and then St Giles is a big enough building to be able to cope with that. I've only ever seen from the outside. Willenhall, born and bred. I used to work in Yale Locks around the corner when I was a teenager. Still haven't made it into the building, so I must come and do that, because I do know some of your members. Justine Clark is someone I went to school with. So so there's a number of members of the church I really ought to reacquaint myself with and come and say hi at some point. If you do want to get involved, you can come along and see Annie. Now, I know tickets have been selling fast for some of the nights, but you've got the 3rd through to the 5th. So what do we do to get tickets, and what's availability like, and what time are the shows on stage, please?
Yeah, so it runs from Thursday the 3rd of March through to Saturday the 5th of March. It's in the church, as you say. Tickets are selling really well from the Friday and the Saturday night. We're almost sold out there. We're about half sold out on the Thursday night and the Saturday matinee. Thursday, 7 p.m. as the other evening performances, Saturday matinee at 2 p.m. And you can get the tickets by going online at ticketsource.co.uk/St Giles Willenhall.
So go along, get your tickets, and there's various pricing bands depending on where you sit. You can book your seats and come along and see an amazing show, which is going to be put together by a talented bunch, all part of the community work and the outreach and just the togetherness that St Giles is creating in the heart of Willenhall. Paul Ingalls, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jason. Thanks for your time.
Natan Caton will be at the Glee Club in Birmingham on the 16th of March, a wonderful Wednesday, and a chance to get some comedy off a man who knows how to deliver the goods. Back on tour, he joins me now for a bit of a natter. Hello, sir.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good. Are you all right?
I'm cool, man. I'm chilling, surviving, in good spirits, yeah, all good.
That's all we can hope for. Now, tell us a bit about this current tour, because, you've been rather busy since the last one with some telly work, but not so much seeing people in real life.
I know, my goodness. Yeah. So after all the Zoom gigs that I've done, I'm now back in the flesh. I can reach out and touch an audience. Not that I'm going to do it, obviously, but the option's there if I wanted to. So yeah, this new show is called Let's Talk About Vex, and it's basically the last few years in my world. So I'm talking about, been in lockdown, the pandemic and stuff, politics, race. Talk about scented candles.
All those things are clearly linked. Okay, does this mean you're carrying scented candles around with you? It's part of the rider now whenever you go to a gig?
Well, if it weren't for the venue's health and safety protocols and stuff, then I would happily just deck out the whole place with scented candles.
Maybe that'll be a thing. There could be a DVD at some point with a pack of scented candles included. That could be the upsell, the incentive.
Oh, that'd be great. No, I would love to do a gig where the whole place is decorated with scented candles and people are both enjoying the comedy and the aromas.
So it's sort of like scratch and sniff comedy is what we're looking at here at the minute.
That's the name of the show. Thanks, mate.
So let's talk about Vex. So the Vex is the hell that we've had the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I found myself getting frustrated very easily with things. I'm quite a laid back kind of person, but in the last few years, been stuck at home and everything like that, I just found myself getting angry and annoyed, frustrated by various things, and I've just kind of made a note of them and turned it into a show.
And what's it been like, sort of having a pent-up comedy? It must be difficult trying to get the giggles out your system.
Well, luckily for me, I mean, I did a lot of Zoom gigs during the lockdown, so
Yeah.
I kind of had an outlet of some sort. It wasn't the same as doing a live gig, but it was still something. It's still, I was able to kind of just get it all out and hear people laughing and doing other stuff in their homes.
Yeah, albeit slightly delayed with a bit of a weird echo on it. But it was still a gig, which is what counts.
Exactly. Although there was, like I said, because people are in their homes, it's like they forget that they're in a comedy environment and just talking amongst themselves, or you hear background dogs barking, babies crying, things like that. It's funny, it's weird, but yeah, it's not the same as live comedy.
Yeah, well, I mean, following on from In Pursuit of Happiness, the last tour, I mean, that again, exceptionally well received. I mean, you get plaudits for some amazing work, and it's nice to actually get the feedback, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's one thing I missed during the lockdowns, like especially at the first few Zoom gigs I did, when no one really knew how Zoom comedy worked. It was me talking to a screen, and the audience had their cameras off, their mics off, and just talking into a vacuum basically. And it was less. I was less comedian. I felt more like a YouTuber having a mental breakdown.
So what else can we expect from you in the coming months? Obviously, the tour is the big thing at the moment, but any more telly on the way? Because you've got your own series as well as the appearances you keep making.
I'm working on a few things. I've always got my finger on a few pies and seeing what's going to happen, what's going to bubble. I'm working on a few projects. I've been writing for a CBB show, which is very weird. I never thought I'd end up doing that, but it's happened and I've enjoyed it and I've loved it. A few writing projects, a few TV things I'm trying to get off the ground. You haven't seen the last of Natan Caton. Don't worry about that, guys.
And what else does the future hold? I mean, how do you see things evolving in your world? Because we're talking stadiums next, aren't we? Surely we're talking stadiums.
No, you know what? No, I'll be honest, right? I mean, as wonderful and grand as stadiums and arenas look, like I love the intimacy of like just that little theaters, or the intimacy in comedy is so invaluable that I kind of I love that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to stray away from that. That's kind of like that's my bread and butter. You know what I mean? Just the intimate gigs, the stand-up circuit, the clubs and stuff. That's kind of what I know. So the arenas are cool. Don't get me wrong. It definitely pays the bills. But as a comedian who like a purist, I like the intimate settings.
And when it comes down to that sort of audience, I mean, sometimes they can be a little bit naughty. I mean, hecklers are a bit of a nightmare. They can help. I mean, I have heckled at a gig because the comedian on stage was struggling and he needed someone to have a go at. So I put myself up there and helped out. But you don't need that. So the interruptions aren't necessarily always appreciated, are they?
No, I mean, like if I would say to any comedy audience member, if you're gonna heckle, make it good. Make it good. It's got to be quality. Otherwise, just be quiet. Just enjoy the show. Let the comedian do his job. Okay, like if you're on a plane, you wouldn't go into the cockpit and tell the pilot which way to go. So just let the comedian do his thing, man. It's got to be quality. Like okay, I'll give you an example. So I did. Oh, it was actually my last tour, the Pursuit of Happiness tour. I did a date in Manchester. And I walked out on stage, grabbed the mic, and before I said anything, a voice from the back of the crowd just went, "Oh, him." Now that's a heckle. That's a heckle.
The tone of voice, hopefully it was a good thing. But
no, I don't know. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if I had that disappointed the whole entire night. But my name was on the ticket. Like, who are you expecting? It's spelled Natan Caton, but it's pronounced Vejdi Hunter. No, it's me.
Definitely full on Nathan, which is what counts. We know that stadiums may not be on the list. Musical career, is that something you might dip into as well, or is that?
Oh, no, I can't sing, mate. That's why I do comedy.
Okay, you're just going to stick with that and scented candles. I mean, are you tempted to maybe bring out a range of scented candles as well?
I would love to. If there's any scented candle makers out there who will listen to this, holler at me, man. I've got scents that I want to get off the ground. Let's work together.
What aroma would you go for then?
Ooh, You know what? If I could like try and recreate a comedy club smell, I don't know if that'd be the best smelling thing, but it'll be unique.
It would, and it would have been more important for the Zoom comedy gigs because that would have set the scene at home, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that boat may have sailed now, but yeah,
this smells of sweat, alcohol, and desperation.
And who knows what else might be added into there based on the upholstery now having been cleaned. But there we are. So it's going to be good. You're at the Glee Club in Brum. It is Wednesday, the 16th of March. We're not too far off. How do we get hold of tickets?
You can go into my website, www.natancaton.com. That's Caton, Caton. And then all my dates up there. Click on the link. Boom, you got it. Or just follow me on social media. I'm always posting about my dates there. Instagram is nathan.caton and Twitter is Natan Caton, all one word. And then also watch out in a big department store for the scented candle range to come in the not too distant future. Exactly. Nathan, great to speak to you. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful time at the gig, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Brum, not too far away. Cheers. Take care, mate. Now is the time to book your tickets for Murder to Death at the Prince of Wales Theatre from the 22nd through to the 29th of April. Tickets are already selling fast. Make sure you get yourself involved. Tom Alsop is here to tell us why we should be watching the show as he's part of it. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. You okay?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, no, all good.
That's good. Right, okay. Tell us a bit about the show to start off with and the company behind it.
The show is, it's called Murder to Death. It is a sort of... a kind of murder mystery, but goes wrong, really. It's a sort of comedy twist on sort of Agatha Christie, with a little bit of sort of PG Woodhouse sort of absurdity in it as well. It's written by Peter Gordon, and it's very funny, very, very funny. And it's basically a murder that takes place at a manor house, at a stately home, and a very inept detective attempts to solve the case and hilarity ensues, basically. And I play the inept detective. I'm trying not to think too much about typecasting, but he's a world-class idiot, and sort of misses no opportunity to get things wrong and to make dreadful sort of errors, really, of judgment and of police work. And it's Tower Players, we're based in Cannock, and we've been going since 2006, I think. I always get that wrong, since 2006. And we do all kinds of things, really, but we do more plays than musicals, just because of the makeup of the group, really, and because we're just sort of more interested in those things, and also because there are other groups in and around Cannock that already do that kind of thing incredibly well, and so we try to do things that are slightly different, so we can sort of fit in and around those guys, really. I mean, we're always it sometimes takes us a while to sort of fall in love with a play. We're quite critical when we start, and I know that because I one of the plays we did I wrote, and it takes, you know what I mean, we're quite everybody in the group is quite there's some quite strong opinions in there, and everybody kind of got an idea of how things ought to be, and so that's really exciting, and that's sort of how we like it. But it means that the process of actually getting to grips with the play can take us a bit of a while, but once we're in, we're well away. Yeah, no, we're very excited about it. It's going to be great.
Well, it sounds like incredibly good fun, and I think you're in a genre there which is going to be an amazing giggle, because I mean, some of the ways in which these tales are presented, they do take themselves too seriously sometimes. I know Agatha Christie had always got a bit of tongue in cheek whenever she wrote her work, and there was fun in everything from Poirot through Agatha Christie, through Miss Marple, and everything else in her tales. So I think this is exactly how she would have liked to have her work tributed as well, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I always feel like I feel like she had a very, very astute sense of like herself and her genre, and the innate absurdity of these sort of odd random murders in big houses of very wealthy people, and all of the intrigue and all of that, and this Peter Gordon's play sort of takes that and sort of extends it with comic effect, but still has that same, like all of these characters would fit quite nicely into an Agatha Christie, They just happen to be they're stretched about 5% to take them over that line about them slightly more absurd, and everybody's having great fun at the moment, sort of finding characters and that I love that bit. I think that's my favorite, other than the actual performance. My favorite bit is that those sort of middle stages where you kind of the nuts and bolts of the play, and you kind of and you're all kind of working on trying stuff out to especially in a comedy, because essentially what you're doing is each week you're going into the rehearsal room trying to make your mates laugh, and then sometimes you don't, but sometimes you do, and when you do, it really. And we always find we obviously after everything that's happened, we decided during lockdown, while we were still meeting up on Zoom socially and stuff, we kind of all independently arrived at the conclusion that for a very long while we just need to do comedies, because people just want to laugh and just want to get together and have a good evening. And we were like, well, we've done a mixture of funny stuff and serious stuff, and we just thought, let's just for now, let's just keep making people laugh and have a nice evening out, and then we'll maybe look at other things in the future perhaps, but right now we just want everybody to come along and have a ball. And we did a play at Christmas time called Kicking the Baubles, which is like that's Christmas goes disastrously and then is fine at the end sort of play. And they're quite different, but they have that same theme of a sort of light-hearted absurdity, and everybody's having fun, which is what we're aiming for after all.
Absolutely. And, I think we all enjoy a good sitcom, and some of the classics you just absolutely roll around each time you see, even when they repeat them endlessly on Dave and whatever else. But when it comes to seeing it live, it's got that extra edge, because it could all go horribly wrong if the cast start laughing. And it can happen. It does happen.
Yeah, we are several of us are renowned gigglers, and one or two members of the company are renowned makers of people giggling. Now, I couldn't possibly comment on who is what and where I fall in that, because obviously that's for other people to decide. But we do. It is not always easy to maintain the last play we just did, Kicking the Baubles, I found it very difficult because my character addresses the audience, so he kind of breaks the fourth wall all the way through. And that's like a red rag to a bull for me. So I had to be very, very disciplined. And the trouble with that, as you will know, being a very august theatre goer yourself, you'll know, once a character starts talking to the audience, occasionally the audience starts talking back.
Mm-hmm.
And they did on occasion. Nothing too horrendous, but occasionally I was like, well, we're not chatting now. This is still a play. So we have to be, you know what I mean? So luckily there's none of that with this play, so I'm not having to do too much of that. But it does take quite a lot of discipline to not laugh when things really are funny, particularly with because a lot of this play, there's a lot of there wasn't the other play, but this play's quite a lot of it's physical as well as jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously physical comedy doesn't stop being funny because you're standing next to it. It's you know what I mean, like you and so we're that process of we're trying to get all of the laughter out in the rehearsal room so that we cut. Do you know what I mean? When you're letting it out now, so that when we get onto the stage, hopefully we can, we'll hold it together. But
you can share it now and have a laugh with it and laugh at it. But the thing is, you'll never get bored of it either, because it is, by the sounds of things, so well written. And here's the other thing, right? You're playing a policeman now. You are pretty much renowned for having a more relaxed look than your average policeman, shall we say?
Yeah. Don't think I make the grade. No, yeah, you're right.
I'm not going to go as far as unkempt, but that we're approaching that.
Yeah.
How is this going to work?
I want to give too much away. I'm able to hide away the barnet if necessary, sort of briefly with a lot of carefully architectured goings on. But also, there is a strong possibility that my character will be wearing a hat. I don't look like a detective in the sort of. It's quite interesting because it's a sort of ambiguous in its like timing that he manages to. He's quite clever, really. He manages to not quite be. You could just about put it anywhere you like. We're kind of going sort of 20s, 30s, like aesthetic with it, but in the actual script there aren't any you could quite easily move it around. You could make it earlier, you could make it later, so it's quite nice, obviously, because when you're doing like amateur stuff, that finding costumes and set and props and that you beg borrowing and sort of trying to get it where you can, really. So that's very helpful. I'm trying to work in as many like fictional detective tropes as possible. So I'm very strongly considering a deer stalker. But then the other company have decided they want me to maybe wear different hats each time. I don't go off a lot once I'm on. When you're the detective, you're in like for the duration. But there's talk of me trying to swap hats so that like there's a try and get all of them in there. Try and get a Homburg in for Poirot, and try to go through the gamut of fictional detective hats.
Well, I want you doing Miss Marple's knitting as well. Then I think that would be good.
Do you know what, we were sat in? It's like we were sat in the pub, and people we got talking about like fictional detective things you could do. We were like, oh, you could have a pipe, you could have, and no one said knitting. Or I don't remember anyone saying knitting, but it would be quite nice to sort of that kind of moment of like thoughtful. He doesn't have many epiphanies because he's an idiot, but it'd be quite nice to have maybe do a bit of knitting. I'd have to learn to knit though. I haven't got long, but maybe we'll see. Let's see. But
it's not until the 27th through to the 29th of April. It is a Prince of Wales. PrinceofWales.live is where you can get your tickets. Any of the contact details for the gang from Tower?
Yeah, if you find Tower Players on Facebook, you can get tickets direct from us. You can find us individually on Facebook, and we can sort out tickets as well. But if you go to the Tower Players Facebook page, you can find everything that you need on there. I've got a website as well that's got the dates on, and places where you can find contact details on tomallsop.co.uk. But yeah, any of those, and you'll find us.
Well, it's going to be an absolute treat by the sounds of things. I'm going to go and get myself sorted some tickets now somehow. I'll talk to you about that later. Meanwhile, Tom Allsop, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The film You Are My Sunshine is preparing itself for its massive launch in Wolverhampton at the Lighthouse. Meanwhile, alongside the production, of course, there is a wonderful soundtrack. Hess joins me now to tell me how he brought together the sound of this amazing movie. Hello, sir.
Hello. Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Well, good to talk to you, and it's nice to catch up again about the work that you're doing. And when it comes to scoring any film, you're watching various different rushes and edits on it to see how the sound's going to come together. And this has been an absolute labour of love over the last 3-4 years now, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So give us a bit of the background on when you first got involved in the project.
Yeah, it was like this. That actually goes back when I did the soundtrack for Sustain.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave invited me to get on board. We got along really well. And I noticed that he was about to produce another feature film, and also, to do that, You're My Sunshine, and produce a short. And I kindly just asked to get involved. And then he promised, said, we would like to have you on this. So that's how actually all started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're working alongside Dave Hastings and the rest of the team who've brought this project together, and this is spread over time. It looks at two different periods of history: the now and when a couple first met in their youth, and it journeys through the difficult situations surrounding their relationship, acceptance, and the music itself has had to reflect some not only touching but also quite really alarming moments too.
Yeah. I think I would say that and then I can explain how the approach to the soundtrack was. It happened like this because when I first worked with Dave in the previous project, he used lots of temp tracks. And then we were discussing about these temporary tracks, what he wanted out of them and etc. And I figured out musically what were the key elements. And when we were working with You're My Sunshine, Dave said that after collaborating with me, it gave him even more insight on how he could use temp tracks. So then he used a vast majority of temp tracks. There was a lot of stuff from Thomas Newman, as well as James Horner. So they were like amazing soundtracks, and he knew that he wanted to be
also very heavily thematic, with very important themes. And you ask about this idea of passing through time and etc. The music didn't want to try to give this idea of different times. When I compose, I could say that I was focusing a lot in the emotions of the characters, the idea of their love. Okay. Naturally, when I was listening to the temp tracks, my composition approach was to observe actually how themes were being used, and mainly the instrumentation in the orchestra. Okay.
But you have a sound for each character as they're on screen, because there seem to be moments where there's two pieces of music coming together. It's almost as if those two characters are coming together in the sound.
Yeah, actually, the what I can explain that when I was doing that, it's interesting that gives the idea to the audience, but the focus was on leading people, okay, into the development of scenes. So when you have a sensation like that, it's because I've been successfully within the structure of the music composition, developing the music into climax within a certain scene. So of course that gives the idea of togetherness, okay? But basically the music focus, for example, there's one, let's say, is a very short motif, which I call it like the love sting, is something that's like a call for love. And there is a main theme as well that is related, to both characters, that actually appears in the opening track. These two themes actually appear in the opening track. At the very beginning, when we see the titles, you hear the love sting, and then later on, when you see the medals, and the characters appear, you hear one of their main themes, and later on, that themes develop within the opening sequence. And I like to take these music elements, themes, or certain textures or certain harmonies, and then these are all the prime material that I use then to develop throughout the whole soundtrack and create as unified as I can within the storytelling.
And the music is such a big part of the storytelling, and particularly when it is as emotional. Now, I don't want to give too much away on the film. We've talked about it is two lads come together, become their partners, and you see their story through time. You see the prejudices that not only exist within the community, but also within their families. And you also see a very much an understanding and care and concern for the way that the situation develops, particularly through some very testing times for one of the two in that relationship. And that's about as much as I can say without giving anything away on the story itself. But it is always a pleasure to listen to the soundtrack. I think people very often don't think to do that, but you're actually releasing this as music we can listen to in its own right as well.
Yeah. I mean, I just this Friday just released it on digital platforms, so it's on Spotify, Apple Music, and many others.
And I know when films are coming together, there's sometimes scenes which change in shape, and again that means that, I mean, as a film composer, you're part of that process throughout. Not only from, it's very often in this case most likely the original scripting, but also down to the last moment. As soon as they hit the render button on the final piece, you've had to be involved in working and reworking things to sort of fit the action and the dialogue.
Yeah. Actually, in this one was kind of easy, because when they sent to me the final edit was actually the final edit for sure. They were not doing any further edits anymore, and of course that happened throughout the pandemic. I would say that the most difficult part actually was because well, I was abroad in Brazil when I was scoring that, because I was working remotely. It was the highest peak of the pandemic. Brazil went to the red list. I could return, but I didn't want to pay for the hotel. So my employer let me, work remotely, and I could continue my project. So then I had a lot of stuff going on there, and also having to do the soundtrack. So that actually was, I would say, the most difficult thing, because I could have finished the soundtrack way before, but it took longer. I will say that there was something very interesting that if you listen to the soundtrack on Spotify, the total number of tracks of cues in the movie are 26. Okay, so actually I ended up putting all the cues from the beginning to the end. But on the Spotify, you're gonna see a number 27. So 26, the name of the track is On the Hill /4 Stargazing. And after that, you have another one which is called Goodbye /4 Stargazing. What happened was we both liked both tracks, but the first one I composed was the last one, 27 Goodbye. Okay, /4 Stargaze, because actually it's two cues. But the main cue, I'm not going to give spoilers, was like this. Dave really liked that one, the one that is the number 27, named Goodbye. He said it's very good, but then he showed to me a big influence that he had in the temp track from the soundtrack of Meet Joe Black. Okay, he showed me that and he said, I really like what it did, but I really think we should go to another direction, you know. And it was a long cue, and I said, okay, I understand. Okay, we want to address it in a different way, because both ways were good, but I know that he wanted something to be more, the music would be depicting something very beautiful, even though we were seeing one of the saddest moments in the movie. And okay, I like that concept. And then I wrote another one, which is then called On the Hill. And that's when you see that, okay, they both show in the end like /4 Stargaze, is that that end cue stays the same. But in reality, is, you know, you can say that it's two different versions that, you know, original were written for the last cue of the movie. I really like both, you know, but I have to say that, yeah, the one that Dave and I sign off saying, okay, that should be the one, I think is the best. But they're both very pretty on their own ideas, and that's why they actually have their names, you know, are really stick to what the music is trying to say as well.
Oh, it's. I think I was actually out on the hill when they were filming those final few scenes. So as I've been able to drop in and out of this production, it's gone along, and you when you see these things happen, you're kind of looking for that soundtrack. You bring that to life, and this is, you know, all part of making movie magic. The premiere is taking place in March at the Lighthouse in Wolverhampton for cast and crew. There will be releases to follow. The full details on that via the You Are My Sunshine Facebook page. But meanwhile, where do we find you and your music, and in particular the soundtrack to this amazing movie?
Well, I would suggest to check me on Spotify. So if you write down You Are My Sunshine, you'll be able to find the soundtrack there, and other digital stores. It's just being released this last Friday, so it's out there.
Hans Hess is the other name you're looking for, and I thank you now for joining us. Ta-ra for now.
Thank you, Jason.
On the 23rd of April, Foerver Elton will be at the Place in Telford. The gentleman who is, I think, going to be Forever Elton now is Saul Mountford, who joins me on the line. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. I trust we find you well.
Yes, you do.
Good stuff. Now, the show Forever Elton is a tribute to the wonderful work of Elton John and Bernie Taupin. But there's so much more to that, you and your world of music, isn't there?
Yeah, I started off as a stonemason and then just gradually moved into what is my passion and what I really love doing, which is music.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're both very artistic. And what led you down the Elton John line? Because you know, when it comes down to the look, the appearance on stage, I mean, you seem a little more grounded than maybe the look that Elton tends to portray in some of his shows.
Yeah, it's because I just love his music. I was asked to put together, musically direct a charity concert about 3 or 4 years ago. And it was suggested that I performed as Elton John in there, and I've just been hooked on performing his songs since then. It's just great fun.
Well, but it's not that you haven't got your own songs either, because you're a composer as well, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. For about the last 15 years, I've been writing music, classical music or film music, scores to things like Vendetta and other feature films.
So this is all part of the big picture. I mean, and as a stonemason as well, I mean, that must be quite scary, the concept that you were wielding a chisel for so many years, and those fingers that normally tickle the ivories, they're doing something more delicate during the rest of your time.
Yeah. When you look back at what I was doing, it is quite scary that I actually still have 10 fingers because you're handling great big sheets of marble, 4 foot by 8 foot pieces of marble, and very close to a 2 foot diameter blade whizzing around. Yeah, it is quite scary. So I'm very thankful I've still got these.
All set are there, which is what counts. And it would hamper your performance if they were not. However,
yes.
You're going to get to bring to life the music of Elton. Now, I note that you have a similar hairstyle to myself. Now, does this mean there's an awful lot of wigs involved when it comes to being Elton?
Wigs and hats, yes. It saves an awful lot on haircuts, so I'm afraid.
Part of the magic of the show as well is the rest of the outfits, and how far do you go on the sequin front?
Well, it's not the sort of thing which you just buy on the high street. And again, if you're a creative person, I'll let you into the secret. I make the outfits myself. So it's a case of buying thousands and thousands of these little rhinestones and sticking them on. So it takes 4 hours, but well, hey, in the evening when it's all quiet in the winter, it's good fun.
Yeah, non-gig nights are mostly replacing rhinestones.
Yeah.
You're based in Bridgnorth, but you're from just down the road in Kiddie, aren't you?
Yeah. Originally from Kidderminster, going back 50 odd years. Yes.
And how did you first come to the performing? Because obviously the stonemasonry, as we mentioned, it's all another wonderful art form. But what drew you into it to begin with?
Like I say, I was a stonemason from sort of 15 years onwards, but I learned the electric organ, which is basically 2 keys, 2 keyboards, and at the time in the 80s, it was all synthesizers, the Yamaha DX7s. So that kind of drew me into sound design and just making these, just making music through electronics, and it's really gone on from there. Ultimately, I turned to more of a classical music. Somebody who likes and creates classical music thanks to the Arts Council, but it's just sort of evolved from performing on the electric organ, as I say, into keyboards, into piano, working with string players, putting together a classical group. It's just been a journey. It's just been a journey.
But that journey itself, I say, it incorporates this persona that you'll bring to stage in Forever Elton, and with the whole sound. I mean, this is obviously a big sound on stage, and how do you create that?
Again, I guess it comes to because I've been arranging music for quite a few years now. For example, if there's a cellist or string parts in the show, which there are, then it's a case of just writing out those and just listening to music, seeing how it all blends together. It's using your ears, seeing how Elton's done it, and transcribing and creating as similar a sound as we can with the ensemble. And I really do have some fantastic musicians on stage. Been blessed with some, because it's not, I know it's very much a solo show, at least people think of Elton, but it's when we're in the theatres, you have to be backed by a pretty decent band, and I'm very thankful that I have got some fantastic musicians behind me.
Mm-hmm. And with Elton on his farewell tour on and off over the last couple of years, obviously this is your chance to really shine and bring this music to life. How many times have you seen Mr. John on stage?
In video form, hundreds.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to keep looking at his performances to see how he performs and how he arranges them. So yeah, I've seen them an awful lot. Whether I actually get to see him on this farewell tour, I don't know. I hope so. We shall see.
Yeah, obviously it would be awkward if you got clashing gigs that night, wouldn't it? The one night you go, maybe you see Elton, you're being Elton somewhere.
Yes. We'll see. We'll see. I look forward to it anyway.
Well, I mean, this is going to be an amazing gig. I mean, the place in Telford, fantastic venue. So this is going to be home to some wonderful music on the 23rd of April. How do people get hold of tickets? I'm guessing through your website?
It's best to go to the Place Theatre, the Telford Theatre website. It's all handled through them. So, I mean, there are links on the foreverelton.com website, but probably the best thing to do is to go directly to the Place, Telford. sort them out there. But it will be a fantastic night. We went there about 3 years ago, pre-COVID, and it was the facilities they've got there, the sound management, the lighting. It really is a spectacular place to put on events. So I'm really looking forward to going back there and performing.
And you've got great lines of sight for the venue as well. And I think what also is going to help is the fact that you know that everybody's going to be up for this amazing music, and it just helps you shine even more.
Yep. One great thing with that venue is they've got a super grand piano to play on, and that tends to be a luxury because you need a stage for a start. And yeah, so again, it all comes down to a fantastic venue to see and perform Elton's music at. So I'm looking forward to it very much.
And which is your favourite song that you're guaranteed to include every night, even if you are mixing the rest of the setup a bit?
Yeah, there are so many songs that have to be included. Really like Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch is Back is good fun. Kiss the Bride. There are some obscure numbers which sometimes get in there, like Leave On. But yeah, it's just yeah, there's so many fantastic numbers, and that's really kind of what attracted me to him. It's just sitting in front of a piano and playing these. It's just wonderful songs that need to be heard.
Absolutely, and heard live as well. And I think there's that interaction and being able to be part of the electricity of the show, which is going to be brought to life. Forever Elton is at the place in Oaken Gates, Telford, on the 23rd of April. Your man behind it is Phil Mountford. Thank you for joining us. Break a leg. Have a great time on stage.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
The National Theatre are back out on tour with the first schools outing since 2019. Jekyll and Hyde is what is going to be out there, and it's in Wolverhampton from the 28th of February. To tell us more, I'm joined now by the National Theatre's Jenna Omshlenko and also by one of the cast from Jekyll and Hyde, Wesley Bazonga. Hello to you both.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, good here. I trust we're finding you both looking forward to this tour.
Absolutely, yes. We're we've done 2 weeks in Manchester already, and it's been a lot of fun. And then Wolverhampton next.
Yeah, so when it comes to being back out on the road, National Theatre is bringing something new and innovative to so many school kids. More than 10,500 secondary school age people will see this over the full run. I think it's about 7 weeks you're out and about for?
It is, yes. A whole nationwide tour. So we then go to Doncaster, Wakefield, up in Sunderland. Yeah, we've been to Manchester already, and then we're going to out at East London, Hornchurch area.
And working with theatres like the Grand Theatre in Wolverhampton to bring this out, and obviously coordinating with a local partner is vitally important. And obviously you regularly work with the Grand on productions that I've been lucky enough to go and see in the past. And it is in itself a wonderful theatre, but also taking this out to schools, it really does get kids into the wonderful world of theatre itself.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been partnering with the Grand Group for about 4.5 years now, on, as you say, on a kind of our large-scale touring shows like Macbeth have been to Grand in the last few years. And then on our schools tour as well. This is the third time we're taking a schools tour to schools in Wolverhampton. And it's been an absolute joy. The Grand are an amazing partner to work with, and we love our visit every time we come.
Now, this time around, it is Jekyll and Hyde, and Wesley, you are part of this show. And before you start, I mean, what first got you interested and into theatre? Was it something like this from the NT?
Yeah, I guess so. I think I saw a play when I was really young, and it made me bawl my eyes out, and it also looked really fun, like what everyone was doing. And theatre is actually quite a weird concept, I think. Like, it's people standing on a stage going through random things, and you don't know what's happening, but equally you could just walk off on that stage and touch them as well. It's not like cinema, but I saw how fun it was, and I was kind of messing around in my classes anyway. And then I figured out that it could actually be a career. So I just got involved in my local theatre, and it all kind of took off from there, really.
Yeah, because it is the ultimate in 3D, isn't it? You know, it's not like having to put funny glasses on so you can see what's happening. And you get, essentially, I mean, the same performance, but a different performance every time. You are part of it. And I think it's because you were part of the show by being in the audience that it makes it even more special.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a crazy experience. And seeing some of the kids' faces so far is great, because in the wings we can kind of look out into the audience and see how they're receiving the show. And obviously it's a different school every single day, so there's, well, thousands of reactions. It's great. It's honestly, it's great.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are out there inspiring these kids not only to get interested in watching theatre, some of them will want to take part in it. And either way, it shows them that confidence is something that you can have. And again, this is all about character building. And Jenna, I think this is it's about more than the theatre, but theatre in itself would be enough, but it's bigger than that.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, the last couple of years of the pandemic, we're talking about lots of young people across the country who've been really isolated, who've been in their bedrooms, who've been learning over Zoom or over the internet, who've not been kind of in spaces together and been able to kind of like watch live theatre or kind of anything really. You know, they've been stopped from doing that. So actually being able to, yes, watch it together and have that live experience and experience creativity. But also, like, you know, we really encourage the schools we work with as well to take part in our other programs, which are about having a go yourself, taking part, maybe writing a play, maybe, you know, performing a play, maybe running one of our kind of teacher CPD sessions. There's a massive menu of stuff that we do across the country, and it is all about kind of making sure that young people everywhere across the whole country have access to an arts education.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't just your standard take on Jekyll and Hyde, a bit of a mashup between the Victorian era and the modern day, and a way of telling a story which is also going to be empowering.
Definitely. It's Evan Placey, the writer, did a bit of a kind of, yeah, he took inspiration from the original novella, and I think was very kind of confused as to why there were only 2 female characters in it. One was a maid and one was a woman who got murdered. So he was like, what was happening to women in that era? What was actually happening to women in the Victorian era? And I think this play, this version of it is very female-led. The 2 main characters are females, and it talks about kind of what hasn't changed actually in terms of kind of rights for women. You can look at the Victorian era and say, oh yes, that was terrible, and like, you know, but actually with the still, you know, equal pay isn't a thing for women. There's lots of issues that are still happening, and I think it's also, like Wesley, you will know, it's also a very fun production, isn't it? I mean, you have a lot of fun in it, I can tell.
Yeah, there's loads of fun to be had, but obviously it's fun that kind of educates and stuff. I think obviously during our research and stuff, we found out so many different things and different topics that you can't really fit into 1 hour and a half of Jekyll and Hyde. And one of the things that's amazing about it as well, it brings it both from the Victorian era to this one too. And as Jen was saying, there's still like not equal pay, and obviously there's terrible things that happen all over. But if we can, you know, get these kids to understand how it was and like that, I think they are our future as well, so they can kind of change that moving forward, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I mean, they have to realise there has been some change, or at least a realisation that what is going on is wrong, hopefully. But yeah, when you come into playing the parts, tell us a bit about your role and how it works for you, Wesley.
So I've got 5 different things that I do in the show. So I'm a paper boy at some point, and he's pretty chilled. Sometimes he's a bit aggy, he doesn't really want to do his job, which is fun. And then I've got a tiger. I've got some tigers in the show, which you wouldn't really expect, but they also have their own kind of message, which helps the play along, especially with Hyde and Jekyll. And then I am Dr. Maxwell, and I also play a police officer. And I think there's one more character that I've completely forgotten about. Tommy. Tommy is probably one of the most important characters that I play. He is really, really fun. I enjoy it every single time I put on that costume. I'm just like, yeah, let's do this. It's great. It also gives loads of different reactions from the kids every time Tommy comes out and has his scenes with Judge Enfield. And yeah, I think in every single one of those characters, I think there's something for someone to relate to, or to understand that, okay, cool, that's not the type of person I want to be when I grow up, or like picking out different words that they use to describe different things and understanding that that's not how you speak to someone, or that is how you speak to someone. A message that I've had to put across to the kids in the Q&A is Tommy's in a situation where he feels like he's trapped and can't get out of it. And I think something that's really important is recognizing that as soon as you can and trying to rectify that so that you're not stuck in a constant loop of being disappointed with whatever situation you're in. And obviously it's easier said than done, but I think it always starts with a small step that Tommy hasn't taken.
Yeah, and you're in an era where poverty was absolutely rife, and yes, it is still something we have today. We've got a better way of looking after people with the state, but it's still not right. So you're getting messages across from a lot of different perspectives, and again, this is all part of the education, Jenna, that you're looking at in schools, I take it.
Yeah, it really is. It's about, I mean, for me, theatre and storytelling, it's about empathy. It's about understanding who you are, what other people are, kind of other points of view. So yeah, you know, creativity in the arts and storytelling, in particular live theatre, is all about empathy building. And the characters, you know, some of them in the play are really tricky. And you know, afterwards we have a Q&A for about half an hour, led by our associate director Zoe, where the young people in the audience can ask any member of the cast a question, or Zoe a question, or one of our stage management team, Tom, who is fantastic. And a lot of those issues come up then. You know, you don't have to like these characters, and sometimes they do very questionable things. The two main characters in particular, but it's about opening up a conversation and then having that debate afterwards, and then making sure that those conversations can be quite, you know, can be lively, but also they can be quite safe as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it is with a group of people who are finding their own feet in the world at the moment, and they will probably be some of them who will enjoy acting it up a little bit when they're in these groups and conversations. I think it's important that they get a chance to do that. And again, it's being expressive and learning that being expressive isn't wrong, as long as you also learn when you need to temper that too. And this is, again, it's all part of the bigger picture that you're looking at here.
Yeah, and it's really interesting as well, because like a lot of these young people have never seen live theatre before, especially because of the last 2 years and not being able to go and see live theatre with school or have any kind of theatre companies come in. So they're not your typical audience. Yes, they can be quite loud, they can be quite noisy. Sometimes they shout out at moments, because you know, being in a rehearsal room where the company have been in a very quiet atmosphere, and then going to a school hall in Manchester or Wolverhampton where the kids are shouting out and they're responding and they're interacting with it. And we quite like that. I don't want a quiet audience. There's nothing worse than sitting in a school hall and it's like deathly silent. Like a little bit of liveliness and a little bit of interaction, I think, is really exciting.
And I'm sure they are still in awe as well. I mean, Wesley, you talk about the sort of reactions that you're getting. It must be, again, quite wide-ranging. And you with the Q&A and your chance to talk about this, it must be great to be able to share something that you love with people who are coming into the world for the first time when it comes to thinking about this.
Absolutely. There was someone who asked a question, and immediately as he put his hand up, and like, obviously it's a school, they're in classes and they all kind of know each other better than we ever will because we're only there for a day. And he put his hand up, started asking, and there was these girls that were kind of giggling and stuff. And from then I kind of knew that this kid was basically me in secondary school. But the one thing that he can connect to is drama, is acting, is this kind of theatre world. And he asked a really amazing question about whether this could help educate people that aren't necessarily used to being stuck in classrooms, or they're not good at learning from a teacher just standing there and hurling verbal stuff at them 24/7. And he was saying that there were so many messages that he picked up in this that he wouldn't be able to pick up in a standard teaching classroom. And I love like seeing that realization from kids, because I think the earlier you realize that, the earlier you can help yourself learn more in different ways as well, instead of being stuck to one rigorous method, which I struggled with in school a lot.
Well, yeah, well, education isn't purely book-based, but it is also having a source material to go to, whether that is a textbook or whether it is learning from life, and also learning from the sort of story that's being told here, identifying characters, and also being able to pick up the changes that may have taken between the two eras that you're jumping between here. Jenna, I know that you're going to the likes of St Peter's Academy, the King's CV School, Ormston New Academy, and so you've got a number of venues throughout the week. How does that work? Obviously, all the schools are set up now, but if a school wants to register an interest for a future potential tour, what can be done?
It's definitely definitely worth getting in touch with the Wolverhampton Grand. They have a really lovely learning team there who look after kind of their school relationships, and all their information is on the website. So we work with the Grand really closely to make sure that we're reaching the schools who might not already have access to theatre, or who might need a little bit of support getting young people to see live theatre. So the Wolverhampton Grand, their learning team there, and the information is on the Grand website. And then from there we can we'll be coming back year on year. We're already planning our next tour. So there's always opportunity to get involved, even if it isn't in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, so grandtheatre.co.uk, look for the Schools of Learning link on there. Also, if you want to find out more about what the National Theatre are doing, nationaltheatre.org.uk/learning, and you can see the whole programme. Look at some of the past performances, get a few pictures and some great shots from the actual stage show themselves. Wesley will be able to see you in one of your many costumes on there, I am sure. And there's going to be schools loving every moment of having live theatre brought into effectively their classrooms, even if it is the school hall, and bringing sets in as well. I mean, and again, Wesley, that must be another good part of it, is having props and things around you, which brings a familiar environment for you, but also an alien one for the kids who have never seen their school hall look like this before.
It's amazing. I think the actors are kind of shown as the kind of heroes, where the one that gets the round of applause at the end and whatnot. But honestly, none of it would be possible without the production team. We've got Tracy Ann, Venus, Tom, Ella, and we've got other people helping us along the way. Obviously, Jenna, we've got Ollie, we've got Erin.
Everyone's getting a shout out.
But there's so many people that goes into it. So even if we go to the schools and there are kids that, they like theatre, but they don't want to necessarily take the main stage, there's so many routes into this creative industry that we have. And having the props is amazing, I think. Full
light, sound, set, costume, everything.
It's incredible.
It's a big operation.
It's on tour across Wolverhampton for the next week, and it is going to be the National Theatre, basically changing lives and inspiring in the way only theatre can. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Congratulations on everything you're doing. It's going to be great to know you're in our city, and we look forward to welcoming you again soon. And of course, it's that work that you're doing with the Grand that makes all of this possible. And I know you have other partners who are fully listed on your website, so people can see how this is being supported. But for now, part of the cast, Wesley Bazonga, and also Jenna Omachenko from the National Theatre. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
That's off for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Back with episode 663 next week. I hope to have you along then. See you soon. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar. Yeah.